I did receive a request to talk about the law of attraction. And so I want to talk to you a little bit today about how I personally have used the law of attraction for things in my life. Now, sometimes we back that up with a spell, and sometimes we don't. And I'll show you an example. If you watch the intro to the Grimm page where I showed you my book of shadows, I talked about a spell that my husband needed to cast for a transfer. Well, he cast this spell on the new moon, and today on Lammas or Lunasa, August 1st, he just got the phone call. His transfer has gone through. So new moon to just past full moon, less than one full rotation of the moon, his spell has worked. And what we do is once we cast a spell, we use the law of attraction. We know it's going to work. We know, like we know, like we know, like we know, as they say in The Secret. And if you haven't watched The Secret, please do. It basically gives an outline of the law of attraction, but it kind of leaves a little bit out. How we do it is you have to just have that knowledge that what you want is coming. It's on its way. It's any day. It's going to be here. And you can't ever have a wavering of your faith. And we used this to get my husband his current job. And this was leading up to a year before we moved. I had come up with the idea that my husband should be a postman. And I don't know how I made that link, other than my knowing. My husband and I have degrees in geography. Now, my daughter had done this job for, about a year. And she did it before the time of cell phones and MapQuest and all of that. So they had actual physical maps, and they had to follow the map on the route. And so for me, I just made that logical jump of map reading to postal service. And like I said, you're probably going, huh? But in my mind, it made sense. He should be a postman. That was a good career for him. It was full benefits. It was union. It was paid time off. It was sick leave. It was insurance. It was retirement. Things that my husband never had. He had always been a subcontractor running his own business. There were no vacations for us and no health insurance either. So I just had it in my mind that would be a good job for him, and he was going to be a mailman when we moved. And if you don't know and haven't followed that on my Grimm page on Facebook, we went from New Mexico all the way to Pennsylvania. Using our geography degrees, we put the criteria into a database to create a map of places we would want to live. By narrowing it down on this data field, we could see where we didn't want to live and where we did want to live. And we pinpointed this area that we're in. And then it was just looking up houses and finding them. And then I knew, I had to convince my husband, but I knew he would work at the Pittsburgh post office. I just knew. And every time my husband would say, well, if it doesn't work out, I'd stop him, dead in his tracks. Don't think that. Don't have a plan B. Don't think if it doesn't work out, I'll do this. Don't ever let that enter your mind. It's going to work. This is what you're going to do. This is where you're going to do it. It's going to work. Well, after nearly 3 years of commuting an hour each way, we decided, now he's got his foot in the door, he's established his career. Now we can look for a job in the town that we live, so that there's no more commuting and oil changes and running through brakes and tires and all of that. Plus icy roads in the snow. So like I said, I showed you this spell that he wrote, and he's really, really good at it. So he wrote it, and he just kind of held on to it for a couple of months. And I kept saying, why aren't you casting that spell? Why aren't you casting that spell? And finally he said, okay, I'll do it on the new moon. And I said, it's the new moon now. And he said, okay, I'll do it tonight. Well, the last new moon that we had, he did it. Now I want you to read the first line of this. Lou is my husband's patron. And this spell is directed to Lou. So isn't it only fitting that he got the phone call today saying your transfer's gone through on Lunasa, Lou's day. So Lou answered his prayer on Lou's day. So see how that worked? And we never said, oh, if it doesn't work out, this or that. It was always, the transfer's going to come through. Transfer's going to come true. And it did. So that's the way you approach the law of attraction. Think of whatever it is you want. And the universe just aligns things perfectly to give you exactly what you needed, exactly what you wanted. What is perfect for you? For us, it was this house. And I didn't know how we were going to do it, but I knew I did not want to stay in the place that we were at. And I knew that we had to find a way to leave. And the universe often takes a straight line and whatever's easiest to get you to your goal. In our case, my husband's mother passed away. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It was her time, and she was well into her 80s, and so that was okay. He was all right with that. And so she passed away, and my husband's part of the inheritance initially purchased the bulk of this house, cash. And the remainder of it, my husband was in a car accident. And of course, we sued the person who was at fault, the company, because it was a commercial truck driver. And we didn't get a lot, but it was the rest of what we needed to pay off the home. I think we had to borrow $10,000. So pay off the home so that we have no mortgage, and then the rest of it brought us here. We lived for 2 months without him working so that he could just work on the house. And that was the straight line, the easiest way, unfortunately, for us to get the money that we needed to move. And so that's the way the universe works. So understand that when you ask for something, it may not be a way that you want for it to come. So be very specific in your asking, and remember those words, and it harm none. Now, my husband's mother dying was not a good thing by any means, but we view death a little differently in our family, in that if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And if you're well into your 80s, then it's not such a bad thing if you pass. You're just going home. And the car accident, my husband was injured enough to get us a small settlement, but not injured so much that he lost a lot of work or had any permanent damage. So it was just a means to an end for us, in that it got us a little bit of money, exactly what we needed, nothing more. And he didn't suffer any permanent damage. So that's what I have to say on the law of attraction. Basically, you set your intention and you just believe that it's here. This is his job. So we were always talking about, when we moved to Pennsylvania, you will be a postman. And right after we moved to Pennsylvania, he became a postman. You don't want to leave it too far in the future. You don't want to say someday, because you don't want it to always be in that someday position. You want it to be it's coming now. Okay, so we set that time limit. When we go to Pennsylvania, you will be a postman. And he is. So just remember that and have an unwavering belief, just like we knew the transfer was coming, and here on Lou's Day, the spell to Lou, here it is. So have a good day, guys, and if you have any other subjects you want me to cover, just let me know. And if you have any questions on this one, if I didn't explain it right, I'll try and do better. Just ask. Okay, have a good day.